Hello, Nigerians. It's been fun to have your attention here on Niger Education TV for the nationwide 2024 e-debate. My name is Juliet Onra. I remain your host for this event. This program is brought to you by Bring It On Africa in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Education. And a special thanks to all our collaborators, sponsors, and partners who has brought this to light. I want to thank the new Minister of Education, Dr. Murufu Olatuji Alausa, the Director of Senior Secondary Education, Hajia Binta Abdul Kadir. I want to also thank the Department of the Ministry of Education who has supported and brought this to light. Also, a special thanks to the host of this event, Benue State Government. I want to thank Governor Hyacinth I. Aliyah, the Commissioner for Education and Knowledge Management, Reverend Dr. Frederick Yang, and also our very, very good sponsors, UNESCO Women Awake, Unifinder, Learning Impact, Rotec Energy Service. We really appreciate your sponsorship, and we look forward to having a wonderful debate experience. So far, so good. It's been a battle for knowledge, and I would say it's been tough, it's been fun, and this is the quarterfinal, and we are looking forward for a big battle for knowledge with the smart kids. But unfortunately, some teams have been dropped and knocked out at the preliminary stage. And for the quarterfinals, we have Benue State, Plateau State, Anambra State, Niger State, Ogun State, Cross River, Oyo State, and Ekiti State, who has qualified for the quarterfinals. And I am so sure that these states, they are ready to fire on all four cylinders to be the best and beat the best. To proceed for this debate, I am going to hand over to the moderator, a young, smart, and talented lady, Emeka Deborah, to anchor the debate.
Good day, everyone. I am Emeka Deborah, the moderator of today's debate. For the quarterfinals, each speaker will be given 8 minutes, and for the reply speech, the speaker would be given 4 minutes. The motion of this debate, which will be argued by two states, Plateau and Benue State, is it the home and not the schools that should be held responsible for the moral laxity and poor educational performance of the students? On my left-hand side is side proposition, Plateau State, with the lead speaker being Ndam Jacob, the chief supporting speaker being Aya Mitchell, and the second supporting speaker being Delop Nico. And on my right-hand side, we have team opposition, with the lead speaker being Aduba Sonia, the chief supporting speaker being Ogeni Ene Favor, and the second supporting speaker being Sanongo Favor. I will proceed by calling the lead speaker of side proposition to open the case of his argument.
Members of the House, have you ever seen a farmer who planted maize and harvested rice? Have you ever seen a farmer who planted guinea corn and harvested millet? Or have you ever in your entire lifetime heard the story of a farmer that planted millet and harvested mango? As the saying goes, You can only force a horse to a river, but you can never force that horse to drink water. So, it's applicable to this motion at hand. You can't expect a child who has been negatively raised towards education to perform better than that who has been positively raised. Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, and I quote, "Peace, like charity, begin at home." The chairman, panel of impartial lady educators, members of the House, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, humbly standing before you is Ndam Jacob from the Government Model Secondary School Dam, the lead speaker in the Plateau State team. Here to read the points I have to affirm the motion. This House believes that is the home and not the school that should be held responsible for the moral laxity and poor academic performance of students. But before I set the ball rolling to satisfaction, permit me to do justice to the key terms in the motion. Home, as defined by the Oxford English Dictionary, 3rd edition 2020 online, as a place where one permanently live, especially as a member of a family or household. School, on the other hand, is an institution that impart knowledge on a certain discipline. Moral laxity is when someone is not strict enough to maintain his or her own moral standard in a community, whereas academic performance, on the other hand, generally entails how students perform academically. Distinguished panelists, is it the school that equips students with all they need to start life after secondary school that should be held responsible? Is it the school that makes sure it produces future-ready leaders that defend the integrity of Nigeria that should be held responsible? Is it the school that is guided by strict rules and regulations that regulate its procedures that should be held responsible? Definitely not. To start with, parental influence. While the school may contribute to the moral laxity and poor education performance of students, the primary responsibility, the essential responsibility, the crucial and the most vital responsibility lies in the home. Schools can only contribute, schools can only support, but they cannot change the fundamental foundation which has been laid.
Point of information, sir.
No, thank you. But they cannot change the fundamental foundation which has been laid by the home. Therefore, the home at all times should be held responsible. Parental influence today, has research has consistently shown us that it is one of the best indicators of students' academic performance. That means how a parent or how parents train the children entails a lot in how they will perform both academically and morally. A research by the National Education Association in Nigeria revealed that parents who are involved in the students' academic activities tends to perform better, 63% better than those whose parents are not involved. Therefore, the parents place a crucial responsibility, and at all times they should be held accountable, not the school. The home environment in which students live matters a lot. We live in a society today whereby parents have zero or no regard to what their children do. Parents today, instead of paying attention, no thank you. Parents today, instead of paying attention to what their children do academically, end up paying attention on how they will get rich. End up paying attention on how to improve the standard of living, leaving the students' academic out of their agenda. And you expect such students to perform well? Moreover, parental accountability and transparency matters a lot. Parental involvement, such as helping with assignments, communicating with teachers, as well as setting educational goals, determines and is directly linked to better educational outcomes. But in a scenario and in a situation whereby parents neglect all this, how do you expect such a student to perform better? Mr. Kolawole was a parent. He assaulted a teacher, Miss Grace Ogri, in Rosebud Private School in Lagos on the 10th of October this year. And this assault, the worst of it was in front of her students, just because the teacher corrected his child. What do these type of parents show their children? Is it the fact that assaulting a teacher before your child will solve the problem? Definitely not. Parents at all times should be held responsible. The home at all times should be held accountable for the moral laxity and poor educational performance of their students. Research and statistics show that you don't expect a child that goes to school with an empty stomach to perform better than that who ate before going into class. You don't dare expect a child that is not being brought up well by his parents to be morally and academically standard than that who has been brought up positively by his parents. I am sure my opponents here will argue that because the students spend most of the time with the teachers in the school, therefore the school should be held responsible. But that is not true. It is what they have been taught at home. It is the foundation that has been laid by their parents to them that determine how they stay even in school with the teachers. Examination malpractice is one of the cankerworm that has been eroding the educational system today in Nigeria. My opponents will argue that this examination malpractice is caused by students. It's caused by the school. However, it is not, because it is some parents that go in search of what they call miracle passing centers to help their students pass examination without tears. Who then should be blamed? Is it the home or the school? Definitely, the home should be blamed. What's your POI?
Don't we risk exacerbating existing inequalities by assigning sole responsibility to homes?
Distinguished panelists, I wonder why my opponents will be asking questions that I did not mention.
For clarification.
However, no, thank you. However, students who have been brought up well by their parents, students who receive thorough foundation will never and ever lack morals and academic performance. We live in a world today whereby children are not being cared of. You live in a world today whereby parents regard their children with zero negligence. Members of the house, I have a friend, Franklin. His father usually goes to work without caring and minding what this child does at home. Instead, Franklin spends most of his time learning pornographical, immoral, and nudity acts, which today, as I am speaking to you, Franklin is now an armed robber. This entails that the parent has sponsored this boy. This entails that the parents supported this boy into becoming an armed robber just to cater for the financial needs of the family.
POI, Speaker.
No, thank you. I believe with this, as I can see my opponents and even the judges nodding their heads in agreement that it is indeed the home and not the school that should be held responsible for the moral laxity and poor educational performance of students. I'll leave you with the words of Reverend Father Peter Imaji. You once said, and I quote, "If students vacate from school to home, the home sees the school in them. If they come back from home to school, the school sees the home in them. It therefore depends on how the foundation is laid." Thanks, and believe this valid truth. Let the motion stand.
Thank you very much, the lead speaker for side proposition. Please be reminded that 2 minutes into the debate, the signal will be given showing that the POI has begun. 7 minutes into the debate, the signal will be given showing that the POI has elapsed. And 8 minutes, the speaker is expected to round up. I will be pleased to call the lead speaker for side opposition to open the case of our argument.
Panel, you know it is laughable that team proposition, the lead speaker spent most of his minutes saying things that don't even have value or water in our today's debate. He was busy arguing claims that even our questions he couldn't respond to them. Panel of judges and my audience, he has refused to answer our questions because he knows that his debate in today's argument is standless and should not hold water. Good at the high table, my colleagues and my audience. As the lead speaker, I'll establish a protocol for my team. I'll also define the key terms and lay the foundation for today's argument in this match. My first opposing speaker in the same spirit will portray their stand on this motion by speaking on key factors such as how schools have bigger impact on the students' laxity and even poor academic performance, how it should not be emphasized that the schools even are equipped with support for these children, how indiscipline in such schools also leads to moral laxity and poor educational performance, and also how negative role modeling of teachers in schools for students, among others points. On my second opposing speaker, we rebut the argument made from side proposition, close the case for argument, and if time permits, proceed with some points. But before I proceed my arguments, permit me to define the key terms: home, school, moral laxity, and even poor academic performance. A home can be seen as a building or structure where individuals live or reside. It can also be seen as a place of belonging, warmth, and even love. School, on the other hand, can be seen as an institution providing formal, moral, and even extracurricular education. It can also be seen as an organization offering structured instructional programs, among others. Panel of judges and my audience. Admittedly, the home is the foundation of a child's upbringing. However, the sustainability of this foundation depends largely on the school, and this is where the school has failed. Panel, of course, the child spends more time in school than at home. Therefore, it will be rather hypocritical to accuse the home of being responsible for the moral laxities of the child. What is moral laxity? Moral laxity refers to a state of decreased morale, which is emphasized by low motivation, lack of enthusiasm, increased apathy, among others. Poor educational performance can be defined as low educational outcomes or academic outcomes, such as low grades, failure to meet academic standards, disruption of classroom environments, among other points. This motion before us today is a misguided attempt to shift the responsibility of child's moral upbringing and even the child's academic performance solely to the parents. This is not only unfair, it is also uncalled for and even unrealistic of team proposition to think that the home is responsible. Is the home responsible for catering for these children to go to these schools? Is the home responsible for the training of these children at home? What about peer influence? What will you see of the influence these children get at school? How then is this the concern of the home? The proponents of this motion may argue that parents have a moral obligation to ensure that their children have academic success. However, this overlooks the reality that many parents face significant barriers in providing adequate support for their children. Therefore, this is totally damaging because it potentially damages the child upbringing. Because if you solely depend on homes who don't have enough communication barriers or even problem-solving barriers for their children, no thank you. How then will you be enabled? How then will the child have the moral upbringing they deserve? We must also recognize
Speaker.
No, thank you. We must also recognize the interconnectedness of home, schools, and even the community at large in encouraging education for these children. Panel of judges and my audience, by acknowledging the shared responsibility of the homes, schools, and even the community at large, we can work towards creating a more equitable and even a more effective environment conducive for learning for these children. I'll get back to you. Panel of judges and my audience, to put us stand on this motion, we'll be speaking on two major angles, which are 1. The impact on the angle of poor educational performance, and 2. The impact on the angle of moral laxity. The impact on the angle of poor educational performance. Panel of judges and my audience, to put my stand on this angle, we will have some levels of analysis. My level of analysis 1 will prove to you how examination malpractice is a big factor that influences the children negatively. Examination malpractice is not a persuasive issue in Nigeria. This is often attributed to homes and parental influences. However, the schools still play a significant role in fostering moral laxity by contributing to examination malpractice. Schools who intend to have good reputations, academic excellence, and often character development indirectly foster examination malpractice across these children. This perpetuates a culture of dishonesty, undermining academic integrity and also social values. How do these schools promote normalization of cheating? 1. By tolerance of cheating. Schools may tolerate or even downplay cheating, sending a message across to students that this is a normal way of life. This statistical evidence is Government Senior College Agege in Lagos State. As a report from Punch News in 2020, found that students, 50% of students were caught cheating in WAEC. How then is this the fault of the homes? Did the homes carry the children to school? How did the homes aid the children in giving the students the necessary examination malpractice stuffs or the necessary examination malpractice equipment? The school authorities were aware of this, and they, instead of correcting them, aided them to fund this examination malpractice because they want to keep a good record for the school. Panel of judges and my audience, other normalizations of cheating are lack of consequences. As the students are now fully aware that there are no much punishments attached to examination malpractice, they continue in this act, which is also harmful to our society. How then will you blame the parents? Are the parents the ones who force the children to participate in this examination malpractice? Also, emphasis on grade over learning. Most schools prioritize grades over learning, which compels the children or the students to cheat or participate in examination malpractice, which also leads to moral laxity and even poor educational performance. Unfair treatment, inadequate counseling, among others. This has negative consequences such as moral laxity, academic dishonesty, lack of parental responsibility, even undermining trust and long-term consequences. Panel of judges and my audience, to put us stand on this angle, we have some real-life illustrations. In Lagos State, according to a report by Punch News in 2020, a school principal was caught red-handedly assisting the children in examination malpractice. Imagine a school principal being caught red-handedly in this act. How then is it the fault of the home? Is it the home that forced the school principals to do that? Is it the home that forced them to participate in this examination malpractice? Another report by Vanguard News in 2019 found out that a teacher from Rivers State was totally dismissed from the teaching board because he was assisting a student in teaching. Also, a school in Cardinal State was totally shut down because of the high rate of examination malpractice going on in these schools. Panel of judges and my audience, you can see this is very terrible as examination malpractice has now become a norm of the day because of the school. The schools who offer help or who foster this examination malpractice. This needs solution, and some solutions are strengthening academic integrity policies, providing adequate counseling, even fostering social school climate systems, improving teachers' training, encouraging student reflection, among others. Other analysis to portray a team stand on these educational performances are reduced institutional time, increased stress, decreased motivation, decreased teacher morale. A research carried out by the National Educational Research Development Center in 2020 found that about 20% of students dropped out of school due to discipline issues. Also, this has negative consequences as these students have decreased academic achievements by not achieving what they want in the academic sector because of these schools. Because these schools help foster examination malpractice and they are left with no or little knowledge in their brains. Also, increased dropout rates, poor social skills, emotional distress, negative impact on school reputation, among others. The impact on the angle of moral laxity. This leads to moral decay, emphasizing disrespect for community authority, peer influence, lack of accountability, decreased empathy, and also negative role modeling. Panel of judges and my audience. Schools spend more time with these children more than their parents. How then would they use this time wisely to inculcate moral values and even academic performance in their children? Why would they use this time rather and neglect their duties as teachers and neglect their duties of training these children rather encouraging them to participate in examination malpractice? Also, schools have trained professionals to address moral and even educational issues. These schools have trained professionals to address these issues, but they neglect their duties. They refuse to do their duties, and this leads to examination malpractice because they even foster the act because they know they have not been teaching these students well. Panel of judges and my audience, these and many more points show that the schools are indeed responsible for the moral laxity and even poor academic performance of their children. But because of time factors, with these points, we proudly oppose. Thank you all.
That was a superb performance of you, the lead speaker for side opposition. Allow me to call on the chief supporting speaker of side proposition to further the case of the argument.
For so many of us, the home is indeed where the heart lies, a well-loved space in which we spend most of our time. William Ellery Channing said, "The home is the chief school of human virtues." Before I start this argument, the first speaker of team opposition asked the question, is it the home responsible for catering or taking care of children? If the home is not responsible, then who is? And the fact that all her points were just revolving on one thing, and that is examination malpractice. Good evening, impartial panel of judges, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michelle Ochanya, the first supporting speaker of team proposition, here to strongly propose the motion which states, it is the home and not the school that is to be held responsible for moral laxity and the poor educational performance of students. I strongly support this point because of the following reasons. Firstly, parental education levels at home strongly influence a child's academic performance. Children, as we all know, learn from observing what their parents do and who their parents are. Educated parents are generally better equipped with the skills necessary for helping their child in assignments, encouraging their child academically to succeed, and also setting high expectations for their children. For instance, when I was little, my mom always helped me with my assignments. Any question or any problem that seemed difficult to me, she always helped me to solve it. And every time she answered such problems, I always said to myself, if mom can do it, so could I. To the house, can you compare the encouragement or support given by a parent or a close family member to that given by a teacher or a facilitator? You can't. A 2020 study by the Journal of Education and Psychology found that students whose parents are educationally stable or have a good educational background have a 30% higher chance of performing more than their peers. Many homes with parents lack educational background can impact a child negatively. Even though the child goes through schools, this poor educational background can affect them even when they are in schools. Secondly, socio-economic condition, which comes from the home, can strongly impact a child's educational performance. Students from low-income homes lack the basic necessity of life. They have limited access to study materials. They have poor nutrition and an unstable living condition. Take, for example, Asha. Asha, after a long day of school, he has to start trekking from his school to his home in this modern age. Imagine, I'm coming home, he meets an empty pot. There is no food in the house. He has to start going out, to start trekking, to start hawking, for him to be able to support his family. Tell me, can Asha perform as well as his peers who have this basic necessity of life? Definitely not. A 2023 report from the Brooklyn Institution revealed that students from low-income homes have a 20% lower chance of succeeding academically compared to their peers. Thirdly, family structure plays a
Point of
significant role.
information.
Yes.
To what extent can homes effectively instill moral values in students without complementary school-based initiatives?
Are you trying to tell me that before you went to your school, you were in school? I don't understand. Weren't you at home? Did you receive basic training from
The
your
home
house?
is the foundation, but
Yes.
the sustainability of this foundation lies largely on the school.
Yes, it's not sustainable of the school. But what if the school has, let me say, things like lesbianism, malpractice? Can you tell me that the school can cater to all this? There are rules and regulations, but students still break these regulations.
Everything that has
A 2023 report by Child Trends reveals that children from such backgrounds are 40% more likely to experience academic and behavioral changes compared to those from normal homes. Fourthly, the development of reading skills is essential for academic success, and this begins at home. Parents who reach their children or encourage their children to read foster learning skills, which are essential for school. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a boy. This boy was considered to be the dullest among all his classmates. Even his teachers confirmed this. But with the encouragement of his mother, who encouraged him to read nothing less than 2 books a week, this boy, as I'm speaking to you, is now a man and is the first neurosurgeon to ever separate conjoint teeth successfully. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is no other man than Dr. Benjamin Carson. If parents do not encourage children in reading habits, they will be less prepared for academic challenges, highlighting the primary responsibility of the home in developing essential skills for learning. Furthermore, communication at home about ethics and values helps develop a child morally. Families which discuss values and ethics build a strong moral foundation for their children. Open communication in families is necessary for a child as it creates a sense of responsibility which influences their behavior as a whole. I believe there are parents in this house, and as parents, you know the importance of training the child both morally about the ethics and the values of the society. Imagine a child openly disrespect an adult with no remorse. What is the first question that comes to man's mind? Is it that the child lacks proper school training? No! The first question that comes to man's mind is the child lacks proper home training. Research from the Family Studies Center shows that children who openly discuss about or don't openly discuss about morals and ethics in their family are more likely to display moral laxity. Schools can supplement but cannot replace the primary position of a child as the first influence of a child's character. Lastly, neglect at home, whether physical or emotional, has a lasting impact on the child's cognitive and moral development. Children who experience neglect at home are more likely to struggle academically and display behavioral issues. According to the World Health Organization, children from neglectful homes face challenges, self-relegation, empathy, and lack of academic motivation, which can affect their whole outcome or can bring poor academic performance in their schools. All these issues are difficult for a school to address without the support of the home, making parental involvement a critical factor in developing the moral and academic standard of a child. Before I step down from this platform, let me tell you a story. A story of a boy who was labeled as adult by his teacher. A story of a boy who was labeled as mentally deficient. The teacher determined that he should no longer remain in school. He was expelled. But with the encouragement and support of his mother, who homeschooled him and encouraged him every step of the way, ladies and gentlemen, this man was known as a very renowned inventor, the inventor of the light bulb. That man was Thomas Edison. This highlights that the home has a basic foundation in the development of a child, either morally, academically, psychologically, and physically. By this, I say, and I still stand by this motion, and I hope by this, you now agree with me, and I have now convinced you that it is the home and not the school that should be held responsible for moral laxity and poor educational performance of students in schools. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you very much, the chief supporting speaker of side proposition. With this, I'll be pleased to call on the chief supporting speaker of side opposition to further the case of the argument.
The lead speaker from Team Proposition came and told us that the foundation is being built by the home. Panel of adjudicators and my audience, I am glad that they accepted the fact that the foundation is being built by the home, but failed to recognize that this foundation is being furthered by the school, and if the school fails in their responsibilities, the foundation of the home holds no water. Now, the school directly or indirectly affects moral laxity and academic performance of the school. Standing before you to gain any favor, the chief supporting speaker from Team Benue, here to oppose the motion. This house believes that it is the home and not the school that should be held responsible for the moral laxity and poor academic performance of students. As the chief supporting speaker, I will be trusting my lead speaker stand against this motion by speaking on how the schools have a greater impact on students' moral laxity and poor academic performance. And on that, I'll give statistical evidences to buttress my team stand on the motion. Furthermore, I'll speak on how the schools are more equipped to provide support for the students, but fail to do so. And so the school should be blamed for the moral laxity and poor academic performance of students. Also, I'll speak about indiscipline in school and how indiscipline leads to poor educational performance. In addition, I'll speak about role modeling, giving real-life examples and statistical evidences to buttress my team stand on that. While it is true that the home plays a significant and important role in shaping the child's moral and character, it is also unfair to solely blame the home for moral laxity and poor academic performance of students. Schools have a crucial responsibility to play in the aspect of provision of supportive learning environments, quality teachers, and also comprehensive education. My parents in argument should not come here and tell us to start claiming that the parents have primary responsibility to play in order to instill morals, values, and even character in the students. However, this ignores the reality that many students face educational barriers and also significant barriers such as work demands, lack of education, and socioeconomic constraints. Panel of judges and my audience, it is clear that the school have more resources and expertise in order to address the moral and academic performance of students. Teachers and parents have a significant impact on students' values and behaviors. Parents face various challenges that the schools can help to alleviate, but they fail to do so. Yes, your POI.
You say that the school have more resources to curtail moral laxity and poor educational performance. But the schools have the resources to address the complex emotional and psychological needs of students shaped by their home environment. Can you, with satisfactory examples of such resources, address the House?
I'll answer your question in course of my progress. My first point to buttress my team stand against this motion is to speak on how the school generally have a bigger impact on student moral laxity and poor academic performance. It has been proven by research which shows that the students spend approximately 60% of their working hours in school, which clearly shows that this impact shows a profound impact on how the school has a high moral laxity and poor academic performance against these students. Now, teachers, parents, and also social constants share the student values, attributes, behaviors, and even norms. My opponent in proposition to deny the fact that schools spend significant time shaping the students' values, characters, and even behaviors, which clearly overpowers the role of parental literacy and academic performance of the students. Statistical evidences to buttress my team stand against this motion come from a study conducted by the National Center of Education Statistics in the year 2020, which clearly shows that about 70% of students report learning values from teachers, and this indirectly leads to role modeling. And if the teachers negatively role model their children, it also leads to moral laxity. Also, research by the character counts in 2020 shows that children with character education programs shows about 25% discipline lack in discipline problems. Not also forgetting the research conducted by the School of Physiology in 2019, which clearly indicates and shows that about 60% of students report feeling supported by teachers in moral interest. My second argument says schools are equipped to provide support for the students, but they fail to do so. This cannot be overemphasized because in several ways, the schools have infrastructures, counselors, and professionals, even resources towards affecting these students. Counselors, teachers, and also supportive staff can help alleviate the problem that are being faced by these students in schools, but they also fail to do so. So, if the school fail in their duties and obligations, the parents at home should not be blamed for that. Rather, the school should be blamed. It has also been illustrated by the moral education program that schools like Loyola Jesuit in Abuja and also Corona schools in Lagos have helped in the implementation of character development, behaviors, norms, and even values. But I see my friends in argument, the rate of the unimplemented character development overweights and overrides the implemented ones. Furthermore, indiscipline in schools.
Indiscipline in schools lead to moral decay and poor academic performance. In the aspect of moral decay, my first level of analysis on that is to speak on disrespect for authorities. Do you know, my friends, in argument that students disrespect authorities such as administrators, teachers, and even their fellow students? But the most funniest part is that these schools fail to punish these children in order to curb those behaviors, and then this is to mass risk among such students, and then it encourages bullying, harassment, and decreased empathy among the students. Now, how has discipline led to poor educational performance? This has been clearly shown by the research conducted by Rivers State here in Nigeria in the year 2017 by the Journal of Communication, which clearly shows that children who engage in indiscipline are more likely to perform badly in their academics. This study found a significant negative correlation between indiscipline and poor academic performance. Furthermore, role modeling. Teachers play a significant role which can help in shaping the students' values, characters, and even behaviors. Unfortunately, some teachers here in Nigeria negatively impact their children and even students, contributing to moral laxity and poor academic performance in several ways. And this impact engage in teachers
point of information, please.
Absentees or lateness, which negatively impact on the poor reading culture among the students. Teachers also uses abusive words and humiliating students. Teachers engage in showing biases towards certain students, which also leads to poor academic performance. Teachers failing to prepare lesson plans, doesn't this lead to poor academic performance of these students? They also fail to provide academic support. About 30% of students in Lagos State public schools failed WAEC exam due to poor educational support from these children. This research was found out by the Ministry of Education in Lagos State in the year 2020. Real life example. A teacher in Lagos State was caught soliciting bribes from students in exchange for grades. So you see, my friends, in arguments, the schools are to be blamed for the moral laxity and poor academic performance rather than the home. Statistical evidences. About 35% of Nigerian students reported experiencing verbal abuses from their teachers. This research was conducted by the UNICEF in 2020. Also, about 23% of students in Nigeria reported witnessing students and teachers showing favoritism amidst their students. In the aspect of moral laxity, students mimic teachers' negative behaviors, either by coming late into schools, absenting themselves from lessons, which clearly leads to poor academic performance of such students. And also, in the aspect of poor educational performance, students tend to disengage and be demotivated. This is inadequate teacher training. Engage students. Example, in 2020, the Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, reported that about 30% of teachers in Lagos State lack proper training. My friends, in argument, don't you think that this leads to poor academic performance among such students? And so, the schools should be blamed rather than the family. My team has been able to buttress our team stand against this motion by speaking on examination malpractice. And this happens due to the fact that the teachers and aid examination misconduct. We are also able to speak on decreased academic achievements, emotional distress, the schools having greater impact on student moral laxity and poor academic performance, encouraging indiscipline. And the schools do not curb these indiscipline behaviors that are being meant by the students. We're also able to speak on negative role modeling, as teachers negatively role model their children. Rather than blaming the home, the school where these character developments are lacking, they should be established by government and also school. And where they are weak, they should also be strengthened. My second supporting speaker will answer the question you asked. With this punch, I am sure that we proudly oppose. Thank you.
Bravo to you, the chief supporting speaker of side opposition. Allow me to call on the second supporting speaker of side proposition to close the case of the argument.
Good evening, everyone. I love this debate because team opposition here is literally proposing their motion. They said indiscipline in school shows where do these children get indiscipline? They come with indiscipline. Indiscipline from where? From where? They come with it from school. From school? No, they don't come with it from school. They come with these indisciplines from home.
the team opposition said that the foundation of moral and educational foundation is furthered by schools. Imagine a building without a very solid foundation. A building without a very solid foundation. What happens to that building? The building collapses. So when they don't have a very solid foundation in the home, how will they further their moral and educational foundation in school? How? And they spoke of examination malpractice. If a student comes from home with good moral upbringing, do you think that they'll solicit for examination malpractice? Don't you think that they'll sit down and read? They'll sit down and read. They don't need examination malpractice. You said the school has more resources to cater for students. Some students don't even need to come to school if you don't know. Some students are homeschooled. Impartial panel of judges, my co-debaters, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am Nicole Pereira Daliop, the third speaker for Team Plateau, here to strongly propose the motion, which states that it is the home and not the school that should be held responsible for moral laxity and poor educational performance. Firstly, I support this motion because of the following points. The foundation of moral development is laid in the home. Every moral development begins in the home, where children learn behaviors and values. Children develop a strong moral framework through interacting and observing family members long before they start going to school. According to the National Institute for Health and Human Development, children's sense for right and wrong, empathy and self-control is molded and shaped in the home. Without a strong moral foundation instilled at home, children are prone to moral confusion and ethical misjudgment. The school can try their best to instill discipline in students. They can try their best to instill discipline in children, but they cannot replace that critical guidance given by the home, as the home is seen as an environment for developing morals. Secondly, lack of parental involvement brings down the child's spirit towards education. Children whose parents are disengaged and indifferent about their children's educational activities tend to have lower educational achievements and behavioral issues. According to the National Center of Education Statistics, students whose parents are actively involved are likely to get higher grades. Elizabeth is my side mate in school. Elizabeth don't really care about her education. She does not listen during classes. She sleeps during classes because she knows that her parents will not even attend open day. They don't even care. But me, I know that my mom never misses open day. I try my best to get high grades in order for my mom to come and see my high score and be proud of me, so that my mom won't scold me for having low grades. So parents who actively involve themselves in their children's educational and moral activities, such as monitoring homework, asking their children about the things that the problems they have in school, tend to influence their child towards education. Thirdly, lack of behavioral models in the home. Children learn behaviors mainly by observing their family members, guardians, and other members of the family. When these family members don't have strong value or demonstrate laxity in discipline, these children adopt these wrong behaviors such as lying, cheating, and other indiscipline. Imagine a father telling his child to go to the door and telling his child to go and tell the neighbor at the door that he's not around, where he's sitting down in the parlor. Or a parent who is receiving a phone call in front of the child tells the child that he's in Abuja, while he's in Plateau State. The child will indirectly get these behaviors and grow up with it. Family therapists argue that a child's moral behavior reflects the child's family environment than any other factor. So the home can be seen as the first behavioral school for a child. Fourthly, parental expectations towards moral and education can influence the child's performance. Children coming from a very trained background know that the parents have tried their best to send them to school. So because they know that their parents have high expectations for their moral and educational performances. So they try their best to achieve these standards that their parents have laid for them in order not to ruin their family name. Or like children whose parents act as if they don't really have expectations for them. The children who care as if their parents don't really have any expectations for them. They feel as if their children, their parents don't believe in them. So their morale towards education will be very low. And they'll be carefree about their education, and they'll not really care about what they do because they know that their parents don't really care. So with these conjoined points of mine, I believe that I've been able to convince you that it is the home and not the school that should be held responsible for moral laxity and indiscipline of a student. Thank you.
That was an interesting performance of yours, the second speaker for the side proposition. I'll be delighted to call on the second supporting speaker of side opposition to close the case of the argument.
I am Tano Gofavor, the second supporting speaker of Team Benue. Here to oppose the motion, this House believes that it is the home and not the schools that should be held responsible for the moral laxity and poor educational performance of students. As second supporting speaker, it is my duty to repeat argument made for team proposition, close the case for my team, and if time permits, proceed with some points. My friend's arguments claim that parents are primarily responsible for their child's upbringing. My team and I agree with this partly because while parents play a crucial role, schools reinforce this moral development, promoting a holistic approach. This argument highlights the significance of school in fostering moral development. This is because these schools are meant to provide socialization, character education programs, teachers role modeling, community service, extracurricular activities, holistic approach, among others. My opponents also argue that schools should focus solely on academic performance. I stand to disagree with this contention because moral values are intertwined with academic performance. It is then important to note that schools should prioritize both moral values and academic performance. This is because failure to do so leads to moral laxity and poor performance of students. How then will you, my friends in argument, say that homes should be blamed for moral laxity and poor performance of students when it is crystal clear that this is the fault from these schools? Let us say, for instance, NECO in 2020 reported that 43.6% of students failed to meet the minimum standards of mathematics and English. Also, a report by the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, TRCN, in 2020 found out that about 50% of teachers reported inadequate training in character education. These and many more are evidence that school fostered moral laxity and even poor academic performance because they ignore the importance of moral values and academic performance. The proponents of this motion also claim that family environment plays a vital role in promotion of moral laxity among the children. This is rather hypocritical because one broad factor which influences behavior institutional influence, as institutions can perpetuate harmful behaviors such as bullying, harassment, and even discrimination. The institutions also prioritize conformity over critical thinking, discouraging students from questioning authority or challenging established norms. This same institution leads to lack of emotional support as they fail to provide adequate emotional support, leading to increased stress and anxiety and even mental health issues. This also causes institutional racism and bias, overemphasis on standardized testing, limited resources, domination, among others. Panel and my audience, a research carried out by World Health Organization in 2019 found out that about 40% of students report feeling of stress due to institutional pressures.
Point of information, speaker.
Another research carried out by UNICEF in 2019 found out that about 30% of students experience bullying in institutions. These are the negative impacts of institutions that the school play a major role in promoting moral laxity and even poor academic performance. Panel, permit me to proceed with my points. School environment strongly impacts academic performance.
Statistics reveal that the conditions within schools, including quality of teaching, resources, and classroom management, directly influence students' academic performance. These factors, such as overcrowded classrooms, lack of resources, unqualified teachers, contribute heavily to poor academic performance in students. Thus, blaming the home for educational shortcomings overlooks the critical role that school play in determining academic success. Data from WAEC in 2021 shows that students in Nigerian public schools with sufficient resources and qualified teachers had a pass of about 20% higher than those in under-resourced schools. Schools must therefore take responsibility for addressing these issues by improving educational resources, training teachers, and managing class sizes to prove a better learning environment for all students. Also, educational interventions led by schools have shown positive outcomes. Panel and my audience, programs and interventions designed and implemented within schools have consistently shown to improve both academic and moral outcomes among students. For example, programs that integrate character education and behavioral management into school curricula have been effective in reducing incidents of moral misconduct and improving academic focus. So proponents on this motion, blaming the family for being responsible is not only lame but misguided. Putting the record straight, a recent study by Olani and Alabi 2021 assessing programs on student behavior in Ogun State schools. This study found out that schools that implemented structural character education programs saw a 45% decrease in instances of cheating, bullying, and other unethical behaviors. Furthermore, economic and social realities limit parental involvement at home. While it is true that parents should be the primary moral and academic guide for their children, economic and social challenges in Nigeria often prevent many parents from fulfilling this role effectively. In a country where majority of parents work long hours for multiple jobs in order to cater for their families, there is often limited time to monitor or support their children academically. Additionally, not all parents have the educational background necessary to assist with academic support, work, or understanding the complexities of school curriculum. The National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria reports that over 50% of parents in urban areas work more than 50 hours per week, often leaving children in the care of relatives or even themselves. In these cases, school becomes the primary environment where children receive their moral conduct. Expecting parents to handle these responsibilities for moral and academic outcomes is unrealistic because these parents have a lot of work to do in order to cater for their families. Schools must recognize their responsibility and have a proactive role to play in fostering students' overall development. Panel, school policies and peer influence shape students' behavior and discipline. The school environment plays a structural setting in which students interact with peers and teachers. Within these settings, schools have authority to discipline policies and rules. A school culture of discipline significantly affects students' behavior and schools that promote accountability and positive peer interactions. Typically experience fewer behavioral issues. Research from Aluko and Afolabi 2018 in secondary schools across Abuja showed that strong disciplinary policies display significantly lower rates of disruptive behaviors, aggression, and moral infractions. Furthermore, peer pressure in school behaviors that schools should foster a culture of cooperation and mutual respect. This evidence emphasizes that schools, by setting behavioral standards and managing peer influence, play a crucial role in maintaining students' moral integrity. Panel and my audience, my team and I have been able to speak on points such as examination malpractice, school environment strongly impacting on academic performance, negative role modeling of teachers, educational impact showing positive outcomes, peer influence, economic and social realities, limit parent involvement at home, among others. We were also able to rebut argument made from team proposition, lay out some points, and close the case. With this, we proudly oppose. Thank you.
Wow, what a fierce argument. I'll proceed by calling the lead speaker for side proposition to give his reply speech.
Home foundation, home foundation, home foundation. Panel, I am back on stage to summarize our arguments and give a firm stand for my team on this argument. Panel of judges and my audience, the only thing Team Proposition was able to say throughout this debate was home laying the foundation, home upbringing, home this, home that. But panel, I stand boldly to tell you that the school too has a vital role to play in these children's academic performance and even moral laxity. And if the school errs in playing such, the school has failed, and therefore the home should not be blamed for what it is not supposed to do. Panel of judges are my audience. My opponent argues that home bears sole responsibility for students' moral and even academic performance. However, this oversimplifies the complex interplay between home, school, and even the environment at large. I disagree because, firstly, schools provide a structured environment for socialization and even character development. Teachers serve as role models, shaping students' moral values and even behaviors. Therefore, if a teacher fails in shaping the child's moral values, it should be seen as the fault of the school, not the fault of the home. Also, schools have a critical role in addressing systematic inequalities in education. They are supposed to provide equal access to quality resources and opportunities. Therefore, if a child is not having enough access to these resources, it should be seen as the fault of the school, not of the home. Because the home did not do anything bad in taking the students to school to get instilled moral values and even good performance in the academic sector. Also, holding homes solely responsible for this ignores the impact of external factors on students' development. Community societal influences and also socio-economic constraints play a significant role. Also, institutional influences. For instance, if a child is influenced in school with cultism or even prostitution, how then is this the fault of the parents? It is because the school has failed to curb this harmful behavior, because one bad egg spoils the rest. The school has failed in training that bad egg, and now it has spoiled the rest. How then is this the fault of the home? How then should innocent home be blamed for this? Panel of judges and my audience, my friends in argument also claim that parents have a moral obligation to ensure their child's success. However, this neglects the reality of parental limitation and constraints. They also argued that homes provide a foundation for moral development, yet these schools help in reinforcing and promoting character development and also social skills. These schools help in socialization, and therefore the home should not be blamed because the schools are ignorant of this. The schools have failed to do what they are supposed to do as schools. They have failed to serve as an agent of socialization for these students. Therefore, the school should be blamed solely and not the home. Panel of judges and my audience, research shows that all-based inventions can significantly improve students' outcomes. This research was found out by the National Education Association in 2020. This underscores the critical role that schools play in supporting students' development. Panel of judges and my audience, while the homes undoubtedly play a vital role in the students' upbringing or even academic performance, schools are equally responsible for their downfall. We must recognize the shared responsibility of homes, schools, and even community at large in the child's development and even the moral laxity. By working together, we can create a comprehensive support system addressing the unique needs of each student. Therefore, panel of judges and my audience, I and my team has been able to speak on points such as role modeling. If teachers negatively role model these students, the students learn bad characters such as indecent dressings, coming to school late, among others. How then is this the fault of the homes? When the homes have tried their best in bringing the child. Panel of judges and my audience, the home is the foundation, but also the schools is responsible for the sustainability of this foundation. For instance, a house that is fully developed, will you see the foundation? Will you see how it started? No, you only see the building and the sustainability of that building. Therefore, panel of judges and my audience, any bad character performed by or outplayed by a child, it should be shown that it is the school that is responsible and not the child. Panel of judges and my audience, my team and I have been able to speak on points such as indiscipline in schools. As these schools of this generation fail to discipline their students, schools are also equipped to provide support as they fail to provide this support. Among other points, panel of judges and my audience, with this, we maintain our stand. Thank you all for giving it to team opposition.
Thank you very much, the lead speaker for side opposition. I'll proceed by calling the lead speaker for side proposition to give his reply speech.
Do you know what? Back to the podium, Mr. Ndam Jacob. The lead speaker in the Plateau State team here to give a brief and concise version of what my teammates and I have earlier presented. Members of the House, before I do justice to that, permit me to call on the attention of the judges to the fact that our opponents failed to answer the point of information that was raised to them. They keep on referring to one speaker to the other, which they fail to answer. And it seems we are casting news here, because I see no reason why my opponents will be rigging all the points from the palm cards. Distinguished ladies, it makes no sense that my opponents here will argue that the school and not the home should be held responsible. When it is the same school that has equipped them with all the points they are here to debate on. Is this not an act of ungratefulness? After the school has equipped them with everything they are here to debate on, they will say the same school should be held responsible for the poor academic performance and moral upbringing of students. Like I've earlier stated, parental accountability and transparency and involvement plays a crucial role in this topic today. Let's take, for instance, a home where parents fail to monitor the daily activities of their children. In a house where parents allow their children to use phones and other things, children tend to learn pornographical and nudity acts, as I have earlier stated, and which mar them instead of making them. We live in a world today whereby parents allow their children to do all sorts of what they like. Members of the house, I believe that with the highly constructive point, I believe that with the well-deliberated points, I believe that with the extensively deliberated points, I believe that with the persuasive, argumentative, and convincing point of ours, we, the Affirming Constructive team, have been able to clear the doubt of our minds. We, the Affirming Constructive team, have been able to convince everybody seated here that the home and not the school should at any time be held responsible for the moral laxity and poor educational performance of students. But before I leave, permit me at this very juncture to still again call the attention of the judges to the fact that the lead speaker from the oppositing team failed to answer the point of information and even failed to give us a chance to raise a point of information for her. What is this trying to tell us? This means that they are not prepared before coming here to debate. Members of the House, we, the Affirming Constructive team, have extensively deliberated on 17 points. I, as the lead speaker, have deliberated on 6. My first supporter has deliberated on 6, and my debunker has deliberated on the last 5, making a total of 17 points. And I believe that with this, we have been able to convince everybody, because I can see everybody nodding his head in agreement that the affirmating team take the day. Thanks, and believe this truth.
Well, well, well. Oh my God. That's such a hot debate. I'm almost intimidated by their demeanor, but I would let the judge decide who the best person is. Meanwhile, while we were on, the Commissioner for Education and Knowledge Management for Benue State, Reverend Dr. Frederick Yang, stepped in so he would come to address the public. Please, a round of applause for him.
It is on. Can you hear me? Distinguished guests of this great occasion, the covering Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Education and Knowledge Management in Benue State, Directors of the Federal Ministry of Education and State Ministry of Education and Knowledge Management, guest teachers, students, and members of the press. I stand before you this afternoon with immense pride and indeed great honor as we launch this inaugural edition of the e-debate initiative. This groundbreaking program, from all indications, provides opportunity to unite secondary schools across Nigeria, thereby fostering a spirited exchange of ideas, perspectives, and unity. Today, as we gather in Benue State, we are not just celebrating an event, we are embracing a vision that seeks to foster national unity cohesion, and oneness. I therefore commend the Federal Ministry of Education for their bold initiative. By creating an environment where young minds can engage in healthy debate, we are nurturing their intellectual capabilities and instilling values of critical thinking, respect for different viewpoints, and collaboration, which in turn are the bedrocks of a united society. Today, Benue State is honored to host this event, particularly given that our students' remarkable debate competition successes locally and internationally. This success showcases our educators' dedication, students' resilience, and above all, the governor has sent to Mem Alias uncommon support. The e-debate initiative is more than a competition. It is a platform for dialogue, understanding, and growth. Our youth will express thoughts, challenge ideas, and learn from each other, thereby developing crucial skills for personal and professional success. As participants engage with peers from different regions of Nigeria, they are building bridges of understanding and friendship that will contribute to our nation's fabric. I have full confidence in our students' ability to rise to this occasion. After all, they are the leaders of tomorrow. Against this background, therefore, I urge each participant to embrace this opportunity wholeheartedly and listen attentively, speak passionately, and engage respectfully. In closing, I wish to say again that education plays a vital role in nation building. Initiatives like e-debate cultivate informed, empathetic, and proactive citizens who will champion unity and progress in Nigeria. I'd like to once again give thanks to your attention and declare once again that the debate should continue until we get to the final point of bringing out victors. Of course, in debates, sometimes the spirit of tension may arise. But like I've said above, here it is more than debate, but it is an opportunity of engagement where ideas will be put on the table in view of the topics that have already been put on the table. I cannot thank all the participants enough for their boldness, courage, and dedication, and above all, the opportunity they have embraced to learn and to cultivate much more than they have before. I look forward to a rewarding experience for every participant, including those who have formed part of the spectators. I'm confident that they also will learn and improve upon their understanding of the issues being put up. I came late and I was ushered to come sit at the front, and I felt it would be useless advertising my late coming by coming to sit in front. When you come late, you don't advertise late coming. So I chose to sit at the back just so that I'll conceal my late coming until now. I congratulate these young ones that I've heard them speak brilliantly. It's a very clear demonstration that they have received from their trainers that which they are presenting to us here today. I do know that what they have recited, what they have expressed, what they have listened to, combined, will indeed work on their minds in bringing them to points of practical appreciation of the values that they are expressing here today on these various topics. I also commend the trainers who have taken their time to initiate all the ideas that they have passed on to these young ones. And I thank you very much for standing up to this debate. Nigeria will certainly be improved. Nigeria will certainly be advanced. Nigeria will certainly grow from this point forward. I thank you, and I thank you, and I thank you once again. I bring the greetings of His Excellency, the Governor of Benue State, Reverend Father Dr. Hyacinth Umemalia, to this August gathering. He is still not in town. We all traveled together, and I had the opportunity of coming back ahead of him. And that is why I can stand before you this evening. I will still communicate with him. If it is possible for him to be present with you at the closing ceremony, it will just be a wonderful opportunity. Like I said in passing in my speech, the governor has sponsored a number of students for debates, both locally and internationally. And those who were so sponsored did Benue proud. We are confident that here too, this pride will be sustained. And more importantly, the friendly environment, the conducive environment that the governor himself has created for us all is partly responsible for the victories that Benue has recorded. Recently, the students of Federal Government College, Vandikia, sponsored by the state government at the instance of the Federal Minister of Education in Abuja, went to Hong Kong. And indeed, they brought back the trophy, as amidst others who traveled other places as well. So I want to thank God very much that Nigeria is not just practicing theory. Nigeria is not only dealing with issues of poverty. Excellence can also be found in Nigeria. And the greatest of this joy is the fact that this excellence is being demonstrated by very young people. It gives us hope for tomorrow, that should the present crop of leadership leave the stage, these young ones will take over, and there will be no reason for any regret whatsoever.
Thank you, our commissioner. Thank you to the commissioner for a wonderful address. I really bought into his promotional ads of his lateness. However, let's move on to our amiable fair judges for their judgment.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers. We have come to the end of the first debate of the quarter-final round, and the debate has been between Team Plateau and Team Benue. And the motion has been, it is the home and not the school that should be held responsible for moral laxity and poor academic educational performance of the children. And the two teams have done their best. I want to begin with Team Plateau State. The first speaker there had in-depth analysis of the motion, very eloquent, very fluent, argued clearly, using cogent reasons why they were proposing the motion. The use of pitch, the tone, the gestures, very effective to buttress their point. He attempted the POI reasonably. He showed mastery of the motion and managed his time well. And the Team Plateau, their rebuttal was acknowledged. The lead speaker, though, had attention on the palm cards, but never distorted her thought of argument. Generally, they exhibited teamwork, and that's a team Plateau. Then for Benue, they tried their best. The first speaker there was able to define the terms well. I agree that it is the home, but to be sustained by the school. You PAMCAS well, listed points like group influence, teaching master factor, negligence of schools in moral upbringing, and the method of teaching. Illustrated her point and went ahead to provide solutions to them, manage her time well equally. And the first supporting speaker from Benue, her rebuttal could not be sustained. Much attention was given to palm cards. So the first supporting speaker and second speaker, more of first reading, we have said it here, referencing the palm cards, there's no problem. But where we have issue, where you are reading from it, that's where you have some issues. It means that you don't have the grasp of what we are saying. So much of argument centers on academic performance, which is hinged on the school. She attributed students' moral laxity from what they learned from their teachers. In the reply speech, they didn't do well. As the team Benue, they played to their reply speech was not all that good, but they put up a good debate. And in the end, we have split judgment. 4 judges gave victory to, I said 4 judges gave victory to Team Plateau State, while 1 ceded it to Team Benue. Thank you very much.